I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come calling for me. Groovy. Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So, it is time for a franchise ranking video today, and today guys, it's going to be a very special ranking video because I am going to be ranking what is my favourite horror franchise of all time, because out of all the horror franchises that I've watched in recent times, this is probably my all-time favourite that I've checked out, and I'm so glad I finally got around to checking out this franchise because where's this franchise been all my life? So, this franchise for me, guys, I'm going to be ranking is none other than Evil Dead. So, now, when it comes to this franchise, guys, so far there is 4 movies, and I'm going to be ranking them from best to weakest in my personal opinion, because, in my opinion, and there is no bad film in this franchise, in my opinion, they're all very good movies. None of them suck, in my opinion, at all. And I even, of course, own them as well, as you can see here as well. So, I'm going to be gushing about this amazing franchise. And this is in my personal opinion, so if you guys don't agree, that's absolutely fine, but please respect my opinion just like I respect yours. So, now then, kicking off this franchise ranking then, in first place for me, guys, is going to be what is, of course, the second installment of the franchise. And this second installment, guys, of course, which is in first place for me, is, of course, none other than 1987's Evil Dead 2. So, this, like, of course, the original trilogy, was directed by my favourite director of all time, Sam Raimi, and these films, alongside the Spider-Man films by him, helped him be my favourite director of all time, among other great films he's done. And this is my personal favourite in the franchise, and I will also say, guys, this is also my favourite horror movie of all time, my favourite horror sequel of all time, one of my favourite sequels of all time in general, one of my favourite movies of all time as well, yeah. This is an amazing horror movie, in my opinion, guys. So, what's amazing about it is, so, I think it you know, takes what's great about the first movie and makes it, you know, many times better, and that's why I regard it as the best horror movie of all time I've seen ever. I really do love this movie. So, what's great about it is, so, the main character of the trilogy, of course, is none other than Ash Williams himself, and Ash is also my favourite horror protagonist of all time ever, and also easily, in my opinion, the best role I've seen from Bruce Campbell. Like, and I love how this film really develops his character, because in the first film, of course, he starts out as being like a pushover type of character, but in this movie, he of course gets developed, and he takes on the Evil Dead themselves and becomes an absolute badass. And that's what I love about Ash in this movie, and this film, of course, as well, helped create the iconic look for Ash, where he's got his chainsaw in his hand, like my figure of him here, of course, and let's also not forget, guys, of course, his iconic catchphrase, of course, which is groovy. Yeah, that catchphrase is just absolutely incredible. And the rest of the cast is also very good in this movie as well. In my opinion, really good cast as well. And also, the horror is also great in this movie as well, once again, like the first movies was. And what I like is how this movie became more of like a comedy, action, horror movie, as well as a horror movie. I do like how I added those genres into a movie, and it definitely worked really well, in my opinion. There was many funny moments which I had a good laugh at, and Ash is a very likeable character, and it's definitely a really amazing movie. And what's also great is as well, if you want to, you could watch this movie first if you like to, because it does have like an opening which is kind of like a recap of the first one, but does things a little bit differently. So you could literally watch this movie first if you'd like to, and that's what's great about it. So yeah, this movie is just absolutely perfect, guys. In my opinion, the best horror movie of all time, and I loved every second of this movie, and it just has everything that you'd want in a horror movie, and it's just an amazing movie, really is. So yeah, that is, of course, Evil Dead 2, also known as Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn, and if I was to give a movie a score out of 10, I would give it a full-blown 10 out of 10. Yeah, absolute masterpiece, in my opinion. Yeah, I absolutely love Evil Dead 2. Definitely one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion, and one of my favourite works of all time from Sam Raimi, because he of course, directed my favourite movie of all time, Spider-Man 2, and then, of course, this movie as well. He really does make an amazing sequel, doesn't he? Then on to what is, of course, my second favourite in the franchise, I'm going to go on what is, of course, the start of this franchise, which, of course, is none other than The Evil Dead, the first movie, released, of course, in 1981, and was, of course, directed once again by Sam Raimi, who of course, directed the trilogy. So, it was definitely a great start to a franchise. Really was an amazing start, in my opinion. So, it does a great job introducing the characters, of course, which is Ash, the main character, alongside, of course, his friends, who are of course, 4 students who go with him. For example, of course, his girlfriend Linda, his sister Cheryl, their friend Scott, and Scott's girlfriend Shelley. Now, this film, in my opinion, guys, compared to the second film, which goes for more like a comedy action sort of genre alongside the horror, I love how this movie is pretty much a full-on horror movie. And that was definitely, you know, really great. The horror, in my opinion, was nailed. And one thing that's great about this movie is that there wasn't very much of a budget for this movie, or the sequels, really. And the effects for their time are very impressive, really impressive. And definitely, you know, they did a great job with the effects in these movies, and this movie is definitely no exception. And I just love every second of these movies, and this film is definitely, in my opinion, a great start to a franchise. And the horror is definitely really nailed. There's plenty of scary moments. The Deadites themselves are pretty frightening enemies. Goodness me, they're pretty scary, aren't they? And it's definitely, you know, a really amazing movie, but it's definitely worth watching to kick off this franchise, of course. And yeah, I really love everything about the first movie, although it may not add up, in my opinion, to a second movie. And the reason why is because while Ash, of course, is still a very likeable character in his first appearance in the franchise, he is kind of a bit like a pushover in this movie a little bit, sadly. And he's nowhere near as badass as he is in the next movies, but he doesn't really, you know, bother me that much, though. But yeah, I wish he was more badass for in this movie and not much of a pushover, really. So, if I was to give the first movie The Evil Dead a score out of 10, I would give it a solid score of 9 out of 10. And then on to what is, of course, my third favourite in the franchise, guys. I'm going to go in what is, of course, the last of the original trilogy. And this one, of course, has a completely different title to the previous 2 movies. And that film, of course, is none other than 1992's Army of Darkness. So yeah, this movie is also, once again, a great film, guys, in my opinion, just like the rest of the 2 films of the trilogy are. And I definitely really had a good time watching this. Now, compared to the first 2 films, which, of course, you know, had, you know, a lot of horror in them, this film goes for a more comedic route. And I definitely love that, though, really, because I had a great laugh watching the movie. There was lots of funny moments, and Bruce Campbell is once again amazing as Ash, as always. And the supporting cast is also great as well. For example, I definitely like the addition of Embeth Davidtz as Sheila, and also Marcus Gilbert as Lord Arthur, and also Ian Abercrombie, may he rest in peace, as the Wise Man, and among many others too as well in this. There was lots of great characters introduced in the movie, and this film, like I said, of course, was definitely really funny, and it was definitely a great continuation from the ending of Evil Dead 2's cliffhanger, and it was definitely really funny. And now, if the TV show Ash vs. Evil Dead did not exist, guys, I would also say that this film definitely had an amazing ending as well, because it ends, of course, with Ash returning back to present day, because he, of course, gets trapped in Middle Ages, and of course, he takes down a Deadite in his store that he works at, and he, of course, has another amazing line, of course, which is, "Hail to a king, baby." And definitely, you know, a great ending right there, and also as well, who passionately kissing his female co-worker as well. So definitely a great ending for him right there. Now, if you guys are to watch this movie, I'd recommend to watch Sam Raimi's version of the movie and not the original version, because the original version, in my opinion, has a quite depressing ending, in my opinion, which didn't really work for me when I found out about it. That's why I prefer the Hail to the King Baby ending, where Ash returns to present day. Because I feel that the other ending is a bit depressing and negative, really, not a hard one to end a trilogy. So that's why I strongly prefer the version by Sam Raimi with the store ending. So this is once again, you know, a great film, guys. And however, it may not add up, in my opinion, to Evil Dead 2 or the first movie. And the reason why is because, sure, it does go a bit too much in the comedic route. There's very much horror. So yeah, they should have probably done a bit more horror I guess, maybe, but it didn't really bother me that much. And the title is also quite confusing for new viewers of a franchise, because you could be confused thinking, you know, what is this movie? Is it like a medieval movie, or is it actually Evil Dead 3? So that's why I think it should be called Evil Dead 3 Army of Darkness, to be honest. I think it would be a much better title, really, so you know it's part of the Evil Dead franchise. I mean, you can probably tell it is Evil Dead because of the poster showing Bruce Campbell, of course, with his chainsaw on him. And believe it or not, guys, but the poster Army of Darkness actually inspired by the poster for Doom, the games, which is pretty cool, isn't it? So, when it comes to Army of Darkness, guys, if I was to give it a score out of 10, I would once again, like the first movie, give it a very solid score of 9 out of 10. Because it's once again a great movie, in my opinion, really great. Then on to what is, of course, my 4th favourite so far, guys, because obviously we're going to get a 5th movie, of course, this April, which is Evil Dead Rise. I'm going to go in what is, of course, the 2013 reboot directed by Fede Alvarez, which, of course, is 2013's Evil Dead. Now, this may have been regarded by some as a remake, but for me personally, guys, this to me is not really a remake, and we'll get to why. So, now this film, I was a little bit worried this movie wouldn't be good, because there has been a case of me seeing some pretty awful remakes in the horror genre. For example, of course, the garbage Elm Street remake, and also Rob Zombie's Halloween remakes, and there's probably some others down the line too that as well, which have been really bad. But when I saw this film, guys, I had a really great time watching it. It was definitely really great. Now, was it as good as the original trilogy? Well, not really, but it's still, in my opinion, a very good movie, which is definitely really good to watch. So, what's good about it is, the main character of this movie, of course, is Mia Allen, played by Jane Levi, and she did a great job playing Mia, and she was a very good character. She may not be as good, in my opinion, or as memorable as Ash, but she was still a great character nonetheless, and I had a really good time watching her scenes, and she was probably the best part of the movie. And this is also, as well, one of the most graphic films I've ever seen in my life, ever. Like, the blood and gore for this movie is absolutely insane, and there's also not very much CGI in this movie either. But it's still really great what we did with the effects. It's very impressive of how we did that. Like, and it definitely has aged really well for a 10-year-old movie as well, because this movie, of course, is 10 years old, because it released, of course, on April 5th, 2013, so it's aged really well. And also, guys, the reason why I don't consider this to be a remake is because it was confirmed, of course, by Fede Alvarez that this movie exists in the same continuity as the original movies, and takes place sometime after the first movie in the same continuity. So it's in the same universe as the original trilogy. And what's even more awesome as well, guys, is that in the post-credits there's actually a pretty amazing surprise, which of course is a cameo appearance by Ash himself, played once again by Bruce Campbell, reprising his role. And he, of course, has his iconic catchphrase, which is groovy. So yeah, this was definitely a great film, in my opinion, guys. A really good reboot. And sure, like I said, it may not be as good, in my opinion, as the first few films, because obviously Mia may not be as good, in my opinion, as a protagonist compared to Ash. And the other characters I didn't really care much about, really. I think Mia was probably the only character I cared most about, really, to be honest. But it was still, in my opinion, a very good movie. So if I was to give it a score out of 10, I'd probably give it a very decent score of 7.5 out of 10. So, that's me, of course, doing my ranking of Evil Dead movies so far from best to weakest. So, in first place for me, of course, is my favourite horror movie of all time, Evil Dead 2. And then, of course, after Evil Dead 2, in my ranking, in second place would be The Evil Dead, the first movie. Then fourth place would be Army of Darkness, or as I would call Evil Dead 3 Army of Darkness. And then, of course, so far, in fourth place for me, of course, would be Evil Dead 2013, the reboot. So, yeah. Now, when it comes to the future of this franchise, I'm definitely very excited, of course, for a new movie, Evil Dead Rise, coming out this year. I'm really looking forward to watching it. So, yeah, when I see that film, guys, I'll post an updated ranking in the pinned comment of my review for that movie. So, I'll be checking it out, of course, when it comes out, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, I can happily accept, of course, Ash Williams not being in Evil Dead Rise, because Bruce Campbell confirmed that he's retired and playing Ash in live action, so I can happily accept him not being in this movie. And which makes sense, because Bruce is in his 60s now, so it makes perfect sense why he wouldn't play Ash again. But he will be producing a movie with Sam Raimi, though, which is good. So yeah, they're going to be, of course, still part of the franchise, thankfully. They're going to be producing it, so I'm looking forward to what they have in store for us. And Ash isn't entirely done yet, though, because obviously Bruce is still voicing him in several projects, for example, in several games, for example, Dead by Daylight, and, of course, in last year's Evil Dead the game as well, which I got on PS4, which I'm going to be playing one day. And Bruce Campbell also confirmed that despite Ash vs Evil Dead being cancelled, it's going to be getting an animated revival, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that come back. I mean, even though I do think that Series 3 did have an amazing ending, despite not being the planned ending, it had a great ending where it showed Ash going on his adventures on a very high note, really, but it was still, you know, a great show. It's a shame it got cancelled, because I really loved Ash vs Evil Dead when I watched it on Netflix. It was a great show, and yeah, so, and I even, of course, have this figure of Ash on my desk with me as well. Oh, definitely a great figure of Ash, which I definitely love. My favourite horror character of all time right there. So, I'm definitely really excited for this upcoming movie, Evil Dead Rise, and when I do my review, I'll post an updated ranking in the comments and when I've seen Evil Dead Rise. So, yeah. So, guys, this is me doing my ranking of the Evil Dead movies so far from best to weakest, in my personal opinion. So, you know, drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let us know in the comments what you guys think of the Evil Dead movies, if you've seen them, or you think how you'd rank them in the comments below, or see you guys would rank them. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe in the coming future. If you would like to be a member, you can respond using a piece of logs or a key subscription, and groovy.